Chase. Now, if you look at the front of my book, what do you see? Raise your hand if you can tell me something that you see. Kensington.
A squirrel.
You see a squirrel. What else might you see, Eliza?
A gray squirrel.
A gray squirrel. Okay. Right? Well, you messed down a grass. A big nut. Hudson.
Leaves.
Okay, we see leaves. Look at the animals. Okay? Do you think they're going to be the characters in this book? What do you think they might be after? A nut. Why do we think they're after nuts? Raise your hand if you can tell me why they might be after a nut. Asa?
Because they need to gather up nuts for the winter.
Very good, Asa. They need to gather up nuts for the winter. Now, what season are we in right now?
Fall.
Fall. What word do I like for fall?
Autumn.
Autumn. All right, it is the season autumn. I heard someone talk about the leaves. What can you tell me about the leaves during this time of the year, Kensington?
They're gray and green.
What else?
Red.
Red,
Brown.
brown,
Yellow.
yellow,
Orange.
orange, maybe some red. We saw some purplish ones.
Yellow.
The leaves are changing what?
Color.
Colors. The
Yellow.
leaves are changing colors. Why? All right, good. Why do you think, now we heard someone say they were gathering nuts for the winter. Why? Why do you think they're gathering nuts for the winter? Crash? Okay, but it's autumn. Why are they gathering it for the winter time? Why do you think? Nora?
Eat and hibernate.
Well, they're not going to hibernate, but what are they going to do? Eat. Well, okay. They're gathering nuts now to eat in the winter time. Why do you think they might be hiding their nuts? Hudson?
Because they don't want no one to steal them because it's theirs to eat.
That's right. Remember, we read other books where they find a special spot to put their nuts. So if the snow comes and it covers the ground, they can go find a place, correct? All right. On the back of this book, it tells you a little bit about the story. Let me tell you a little bit about the story before I send some more of you to the bathroom. Pop! A shiny brown nut suddenly burst up from the ground. It wobbled, it shook, it wibbled, it dribbled, and then it lay there, teasing. It looked so delicious that everyone wants to eat it. Badger. Do you remember the badger from our other book?
The bear snores on.
Yes, the bear snores on. There was a badger. The badger decides that there should be a race and the winner will get the nuts. But something happens. We don't know what's going to be happen, but the race doesn't go as planned. So we have to read the book and listen and see what happens, okay?
Yeah.
All right. I need for Hudson and Asa and Peyton and Eliza to go to the bathroom. I need Hunter to come sit in a chair. All right, are y'all gonna listen good?
Yes.
All right, let's find out what happens in this story. Miss Zorn doesn't know. I haven't read it yet, and I'm far enough back away. Hickory was making rude faces at Pecan. So this is rude. This is Hickory, and this is Pecan. And he's making weird faces. Not being very nice, is he?
No.
What is he sticking out?
His tongue.
He's sticking out his tongue. That's being ugly, isn't it? Pop. Have you ever heard a nut go pop? A shiny brown nut suddenly popped up out of the ground. It wobbled, it shook, it wibbled, and it quivered, and it just lay there. I never heard a nut making a noise. No, I never saw a nut move. Wow, lunch. Pecan Hickory. Who's making all that noise, said the badger. I'm trying to sleep. All the animals came out to see what was happening. Mine, that pecan shouted. It's mine, yelled Hickory. I saw it first. Did not, did so. Bop his nose, shouted little Miss Rabbit. Certainly not. Bopping noses doesn't solve problems, said Badger firmly. Are they being very nice?
No.
Not very nice at all, fighting over a nut, just one nut. Badger said, there's going to be a competition. There's going to be some type of race to see who will be the winner. And the winner will get the nut. So let's find out what's going to happen. I know, said Hedgehog. The prickliest animal wins the nut. But you're the prickliest, said Pecan and Hickory. Yeah, I am, said the Hedgehog. I win. I get the nut. Cuddlest gets the nut, said the littlest rabbit. I win. I'm cuddly. Enough of this, said the badger. We are going to have a race. The first one to reach the post wins. A post might be a pole. We'll find out probably more in the story. Hooray, a race. All the animals cheered. Blackbird whistled for the start of the race. They were off. Pecan and Hickory shot ahead, but the rabbits were close behind. Hedgehog tried to run, but he only managed to waddle. Remember we talked about ducks waddling? In a huff, he curled himself into a ball, and he rode full speed down the slope, down the hill. Littlest rabbit looked back to see a prickly ball spinning towards them. Look out, he called, but it was too late. It might be. Keep it in your head. I said keep it in your head. Not sure what it is. Hedgehog crashed through the racers like a cannonball, and everyone landed in a prickly heap. Oh my dear, said Badger. We're going to have to start again, and prickly cannonballs aren't allowed. Hedgehog put his head down, snorted, and off he went by himself. How do you think they made him feel?
Sad.
Sad? I think he felt more sad than mad. Do you think they hurt his feelings?
Yes.
Sometimes when we're rude on the playground, that's how we make others feel. Blackbird whistled, and they were off again. Pecan and Hickory were neck and neck. What do you think that means when you're neck and neck?
Close to each other.
Close to each other, side by side. Not sure who's going to win yet. My nut, shouted Pecan. I win. No, shouted Hickory. I win. My nut. Suddenly, the nut began to move. It twitched. It jerked. It jobbled until plop. It disappeared down into that hole in the ground. It's a magic nut, shouted littlest rabbit. Nutty magic, squealed Hedgehog, racing back to see. Then it would have tasted magically delicious, said True. Pop! The nut sprang out right in front of all the animals. Quick, grab it, shouted little rabbit. All the animals shot. They ran across the grass, rolling and shrieking, jumping, hopping, banging, bopping into each other. I've got it, shouted Hedgehog. But the nut vanished again down in the
Oh.
down in that hole. Said the badger suddenly. Look. Help! He pointed at the magic nut that had appeared at his feet. Everyone tiptoed towards the nut. The nut shook. The nut quivered. Why do you think the nut's shaking?
It's scared.
It's scared.
It's nervous.
The animals looked in amazement. Help! Squealed the nut. Shrieked the littlest rabbit. A talking nut? A talking nut, said Pecan. I've never heard of a talking nut. Pecan and Hickory bent down. They pulled, they tugged, they yanked at the nutshell with all their might. Pop! Out flew the nutshell, sending Pecan and Hickory rolling backwards. And there, in the hole where the nut had been, was a
Squirrel.
mole. A mole. Look at that mole. Remember the mole from the Bear Snores On? Good for you, Hunter. The mole had the nut the whole time, covering him up for a disguise. Mole shook himself and stood up on his two tiny legs. Oh, thanks, he said. I thought I would be stuck in that nutshell forever. Littlest Rabbit put the empty shell on his head. Well, makes a great looking hat, he giggled. That looks like the tastiest nut ever. Groaned Pecan and Hickory. There's plenty more nuts where that one came from, chirped Mo, and he disappeared. He went away back under the ground.
To find more.
You think he's going to find more?
Yes.
That nut was empty, wasn't it? Somebody had already eaten all of it. Suddenly, shiny nuts began popping up out of the ground all over the place. There's a nut for everyone, Mo laughed. Magic, said Hickory. Magic, shouted Pecan. Nutty magic, everyone shouted, and they all munched with delight.
They love the food.
All right, let's think about this for a minute. Two best friends were fighting over what? A nut. Two best friends were fighting over what they thought was a nut. And all along, was it a nut?
No, it was a mole.
It was an empty nut. Nothing inside. It was the empty shell. The mole had just put it on his head. Then they met their other friends. And they all were fighting over what?
Nut.
One nut. One nut. They were all fighting over one nut. Should we fight? What?
Share it.
You could share it. If it had been a real nut, could they have cracked it open?
No.
Could they have given each friend some pieces?
Yes.
Would that have been the best thing?
Yes.
I'm very disappointed. Would that have been the best thing to do?
Yes.
Instead of fighting over it?
Yes.
What would be another way to solve the situation? Let's just say we have one ball instead of a nut, and there's two of you. Are you going to fight over the ball?
No, you can bounce it to each other.
Bounce it back and forth to each other.
Or throw it to each other.
Throw it to each other. Share it.
Roll it
I
to
like when
each
y'all
other.
said share it, because that would be the best thing to do. Now, this was not a nonfiction story. It was a fiction story. The author wrote this book for entertainment, and it was good and funny, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was I got a little worried. I thought they were going to start fighting or really getting angry with each other. Now, we have learned some important facts about the season autumn. about animals, and you were able to tell me that about them collecting the nuts. You know when we go outside and you see piles of acorns? I asked you to do what, not to do what?
Pick them up.
I asked you not to pick them up because I said a squirrel, a chipmunk, maybe an animal has hid those acorns by that tree. Do you remember me saying that?
Yes.
And they go off on a journey. They go off through the field or they go off through the playground. And then if you move all their nuts,
They won't have any.
they won't have any. All right, so we'll think about that when we go on the playground. Want you to think of something else when you're outside playing. Share. Don't argue. Got it?
Yes.
All right, if you like this